Awesome. Right, I'll just check. It's something we always do.
It's saying I got 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're probably a little bit behind,
Do you reckon
but
that's
I
what it is?
will just check, and I'll mute.
Here we go.
There we go. Awesome. Hey guys, how we doing? Thanks for joining us on this lovely Tuesday. Yeah, a bit of a special one this week, Dave.
Is it? Yeah.
Clearly not that special.
It is. It is special. It is. Yeah, we have a very special guest. When does the camera look at John?
It looks at John when we intro him.
Oh,
so
okay,
luckily
okay.
we got, as you know, we usually have a little bit of an informal setup, but today we've gone a little bit special because, we're joined by Jon Foxy Davies. John, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here finally, and a good morning spent learning about what's to come on my trip to base camp.
Yeah.
I know you two it was great because obviously a big question anyone has is around equipment.
Yeah, no, it's great.
So I know you guys were chatting about that.
Yeah, I packed for base camp.
Yeah.
I would say last night, but it wasn't.
This morning.
It was this morning.
Yeah.
I got up early and packed it all. But no, it's great. It's one of the best things about the job, I think, is when you meet someone that's just about to go.
Yeah.
And then I can live vicariously through
Yeah.
your experience.
Yeah.
Because the not knowing, but then finding out, I love.
Yeah.
Learning about that sort of
You
stuff.
probably could see the cogs turning in my head. Right, I need to get that, and that sorted.
Yeah.
And, that was a huge help because it's like the unknown for me is what you want to have, like the best amount of advice and experience given to you. So it was good. Enjoyed it in the woods.
It was. I know it was a bit weird, wasn't it? Bears in the woods.
Yeah.
But we there wasn't too many mountains around us, so we thought, well, we'll go for a walk and we'll take the equipment bags, and we'll have a look. But nice to see some Evertrekkers on here as well. We got Carl, we got Angus. Of course, Angus is free. Let us know as well, Angus. I know you mentioned there if we're coming through loud and strong on the audio. I know Steve's with us today, looking after the audio and the cameras. But yeah, just let us know if we're all good. And I know we're going to delve into, obviously John is coming to Everest Base Camp with us, which is awesome, next month. But drop in any questions. So any questions you've got for John or for us, anything to do with Everest Base Camp. Obviously we're talking about that a lot today. But anything, guys, obviously we talked about equipment this morning. So just drop them in the comments.
John's career. It's of interest.
It's of interest.
Yeah.
Well, that was my first sort of question, really. And we'll delve into that, and then we'll kind of delve into base camp stuff. But I think it's definitely a link. And for me, obviously you played for Wales, British and Irish Lions. You've had Grand Slams, World Cups. All that is fantastic. But when you think of the challenge of Everest Base Camp, which is different, what would you say you can bring from your career to that challenge that would kind of help you, whether it's mindset, physicality wise?
Well, first of all, hopefully got like a decent base of fitness to get me up there. And then, but no, I definitely think elite sport or elite environments, they give you resilience.
Yeah.
And what I've known speaking to people that have done base camp or any of these hikes over the years and experiences is that it's going to be hard at times.
Yeah.
And being able to deal with that and keep moving or parking it and just being able to process it. That's the thing that's I think will help hugely. And it's a challenge, and I've always loved to challenge myself, whether that would be rugby or in other parts of my life. So it was something that I couldn't say no to, really. I'm just over the moon to get the opportunity to hopefully get to base camp and enjoy that whole experience that I'll get when I get up there.
Yeah. I think that, just in our experience of going to the mountains, I think whenever you deal with like sort of athletes or military, they're the two types of mindset, I think, that do really well.
Yeah.
Because you have learned through trial of coping with adversity, challenges, bounce back in, One of the things you said earlier I found great was like, how to get a good night's sleep when you've got that level of anticipation.
Yeah, which you need.
Certain things that like we don't even think about.
Yeah.
But like, having to kind of like control the emotion and still perform.
Yeah.
That's I think that's a really big part, because one of the things we get fed back is that like it's the anxiety of going to altitude and the unknown.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably going to be a huge talent to have.
I think we're always very task oriented as well. So whatever, if I'm, when we get to Nepal, obviously I'm going to miss my family and whatnot, but I'm there to get to base camp. So then my mindset focuses and it doesn't veer off that track.
You're focused
on it.
Nice.
So I think that'll help. But it is extremely exciting, and it's a couple of weeks away now.
I know it's not far, is it? And I suppose on the back of that, because obviously you're bringing a lot. But what kind of new lessons are you looking to learn about yourself, or to take from the trip, or reaching Everest Base Camp, which obviously I know is a big deal to you?
Yeah, I think life is all about experiences and enjoying it as much as you can. And I think I've enjoyed being outdoors and exploring most of my life, and appreciating that climbing up to base camp is going to be a great experience and a chance for me to really appreciate the whole thing. And I think I want to be tested. I don't want. I hope it's not easy, but it's that sense of achievement when you get there. If you've been through adversity or you haven't felt great at certain times, it's the challenge that.
Nice.
And it's there's a good group of us going, and I look forward to really getting to know people and enjoying that and seeing every stage on the way up. The villages and the tea houses and. Like you said, the Irish bar on the way back down.
Yeah, I know. Typically, it's definitely a tease on the way up.
Yeah,
I think it's good focus, like you said.
I think you've already understood. I think the essence of the trip, though, which is what it's about. Is that sort of it's about it being difficult.
Yeah,
is one of the things we always tell people when they say, "Well, how hard is it?" They're worried that it's too hard, and that's valid for a lot of people. But it's supposed to be hard.
Yeah,
there are certain days where you're not going to want to go on.
Yeah.
But I always think that when you come back and you've had those experiences, you're way more, you know more about yourself, you've stretched your capabilities in certain ways that you haven't dreamed about before. And even sometimes it's about the group dynamic.
Yeah.
Like you might find the physical aspect of it at least not too difficult. The altitude is challenging for everyone, but then there's the group mentality.
Yeah.
Some people are behind, and I guess that as being, team sports all your life.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it, I think.
I think as well is knowing triggers of certain individuals. Sometimes you might just need half an hour to yourself in the back and just
chilling.
a bit of you time. It's understanding that and being honest with your group when you go in and learning that way. Because talking to Reese, who's going with me, is when I don't function well if I'm hungry. I get real short and agitated.
Yeah.
So making sure that if I am getting a bit snappy, it's it could be just get a bit of food in me.
Have a chocolate bar, John.
Snickers is gonna be handed out left.
Exactly.
We talked about baggage and weight earlier.
Yeah.
Significant kilos of Snicker bars.
Snickers. Yeah.
Just because I do lose my appetite at altitude.
Yeah.
I know we'll come on to altitude in a sec because it's a big part of the trip.
Yeah.
But actually a big part of it for me is losing my hunger.
Yeah.
Losing my hunger. Essentially not feeling hungry, that's part of the challenge, but I can always knock a Snickers back.
Yeah, I think I'm the same if I don't eat. Well,
I think we both are, aren't we? We could both get a bit, we know, we're like, let's have 5.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know what it is, it's less grumpy and more depressed. like if I haven't eaten anything, I'll just be like, I can't be bothered, and you'll be like, nah, come on, I'm like, nah, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And then
but at times then you might be the positive in a good spot, and then you help each other, and that's that whole group dynamic thing.
Yeah, it's massive, I think, isn't it?
Banter is big for me.
Yeah.
It's definitely big for you, isn't it?
I've got to be having a laugh.
Why not?
Even if I've annoyed someone, if it's made me chuckle. But I think that's great, because you can't take life too seriously.
No.
And these challenges, just because it doesn't mean you can't have fun.
Yeah.
So if I can wind someone up or something like that, I remember one time, I don't know where we were, but you were having an issue with your sleeping bag, right? And for about 20 minutes, I can hear him just trying to get his sleeping bag going, and I'm just cracking up.
Was that Morocco?
It was Morocco.
I remember, because I normally don't have issues with sleeping bags.
I was cracking
up.
But I remember that. I didn't even set this one up. I just knew that he was struggling, and it was and I could hear oh, for God's sake, trying to get it, and I'm just cracking up listening to him. And I think it's finding adversity and funny.
You got to enjoy it and have a laugh. If those gloves came out that we saw earlier, you the fingerless ones
Yeah.
you were showing me. Like, I jump on that straight away. I wouldn't leave it go.
No, you're quite right to. Yeah, like for he's talking about these like the mittens you would see on a kid in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like fold back.
I remember watching that. I don't really use them, but you love them, don't you? To access to your fingers.
I always have been something of a trendsetter, John. Okay. So in terms of my...
You did have a leather jacket to wear with it.
Yeah, I do, leather jacket to wear with it. Sometimes a duffel coat as well.
Brilliant. So switching to altitude then, obviously I know you've been to altitude before, a little bit lower.
A lot lower.
How do you feel about that kind of part of the trip?
So it's like you said, it's that unknown of how your body will adapt and take to it. So when, like my experience at altitude is pre-World Cup training camps, we'd live at altitude and train a little bit lower. So we lived at maybe, I think, 2,500 meters. We'd go down to maybe 1,200 meters to train. So we spent 2 weeks doing that. And I found like the training at a lower level extremely hard, but even when you get back up climbing the stairs, it would just be a little bit of shortness of breath, because you're probably going at a pace you normally climb a set of stairs, and you get to the top and you're like, oh my god. So it's that managing nice and steady, slow time, but it's the
speed.
I think like I've never eaten so much at altitude, because with the training, I remember the amount of food the body would consume was a huge amount. So I am a bit apprehensive how the body will react, but hopefully with preparation and knowing, like the day we had in the altitude center was really good to learn about different ways, and even the carbon dioxide test of holding your breath and seeing how your
heart rate changes.
And the sleeping, because that if you can't hold your breath for that long, it might wake you up in the middle of the night and stuff. So
did you have a heart rate, John? They couldn't find yours, could they?
They couldn't find a pulse. Like my resting heart rate has always been quite low, around 42, 43. And the room was extremely cold. So literally my hands were just blue, and I think the guy was getting slightly frustrated with it. But we did find a pulse slightly.
Luckily he was there.
A faint one.
Oxygen's finally getting around your body. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, altitude though, it is, I think you'll find, you do get the altitude sickness symptoms, which for the most part will be a headache. But actually, for the most part, the experience is what you've described, just more of it and sooner. So I noticed one time when we were at Dingboche, which is a village you're going to visit, and we found a snooker table. And you wouldn't know, but like snooker turns into quite an extreme sport at 4,500 meters.
It's hard work bending down for that long.
So you bend down for the shot, and you're like, and holding it down there. If you don't get the shot off, you have to stand back up again to start taking breath.
Wow.
But it's more of that. I think we've always been fascinated, haven't we? So me and Andy are usually sharing a room where we're like, can you feel the altitude yet? Not quite.
Until you do something. Like you said, walking up the stairs, playing snooker,
getting in and
whatever
out of the
it
tent.
is.
Oh God, it's a nightmare. Because you get out of the tent and then you're like,
bags.
All of that stuff takes extra effort.
But it is interesting, and I think with altitude there is all those, like a lot of people, and especially a lot of people who are on here today, would have had the same feelings. I know I did before even first time altitude, and I'm an asthmatic as well. So before going altitude, it was all on my mind, thinking, how am I going to? What's breathing like? What about if I do get altitude sickness, or how do I manage that? So it's interesting, because we all, whether you're just kind of average fitness, or like yourself, who's obviously very high level fitness over the years, you still have the same feelings, the same thoughts, because the real level of altitude.
What would you say, like, not tips to avoid it because it's inevitable, but like key things on your trip that you would look to manage?
Hydration. First and foremost. The moment you stop hydrating, you stop acclimatizing. So you'll notice when you go to altitude that you'll start peeing a lot more. It's part of your body's way of adapting. So the way I learned all of this through experience and then the altitude center, which are really good. They explained it to me that when you go to altitude, if you spend about a month there, which is why your training camps would have been at least 2 weeks, you'll start to develop more red blood cells. Your body gets more efficient at transporting oxygen. But when you're only there for about a week or a week and a half, your body can't do that quick enough. So it cheats. And it starts this diuretic effect. So all it wants to do is be efficient at transporting red blood cells, so you'll pee a lot of everything else out.
Yeah.
That's why when you take Diamox, you pee even more, because it like turbocharges the process.
I got you.
Accelerates
So it's not just about replacing fluid you lose during exercise, it's about supporting the what's happening naturally.
Okay.
So yeah, you need to be like a basking shark going up the mountain, just gallons of it. You know those little squirty squash bottles you get in the supermarket? They're a lifesaver, because after just plain water over and over again, you put some in there, and then at the end of the day, like electrolyte tablets.
Yeah.
And the other one is pace.
Yeah.
You'll find it interesting because you've got quite a different degree of people in your group.
Yeah.
So you'll notice that it's not always related to fitness. Sometimes people's pace and taller people are naturally faster. That's a tricky one. Like having to deliberately slow yourself down can be frustrating.
It's one of the hardest things, I think, for people, especially ex-military, you know, people in professional sports, is going slow, because I think naturally you've got a competitive edge.
Yeah.
You're trying to get somewhere, aren't you? So it will be a challenge, but it switches then. Obviously, hydration is key, speed is key, but then it's the challenge with the mindset then, which affects both, doesn't it?
I think like one thing we've talked about as a group is like having no ego, like doing it at a pace that, you know, we just want to get there, however long it takes us to, you know, that's going to be key for us succeeding on this trip to get into base camp. And I think, like you said, like athletes are so competitive. There's like I'm leaving my ego at Heathrow. I'm taking it nowhere near me, and just go with the flow and then just enjoy it.
Yeah,
and that's bang on, isn't it? About the enjoyment stuff. I think once you realise why you're there, you know, because some people do it for charity, some people because it's like on their bucket list, or maybe they've lost someone, they want to do it for a memory. Go into those things, like on why you do it, is also a good reason. You know, and I think that kind of drags you away then from that ego. When you hang this why there. I think, and a lot of Evertrekkers, you know, we get to know personally. There's a lot of stories there on why people do what they do. It's really interesting.
I always think as well, there's a way to repurpose the ego as well, like because some people do go out there and they are incredibly strong. Like they're not suffering really with altitude. Their fitness is levels above everyone else. But there are certain things that individual, if they're the right-minded person, can help the rest of the group. Because there's gonna be people in the group that have really bad days and they really have to just struggle through. I think sometimes just that person walk for a bit. You know, they might want to be on their own, but also they might want a bit of help or whatever, and they might want someone to just chat to them and banter to them. So. Because it's a long time sometimes, 4 or 5 hours walking on your own when you don't feel well. And I find that if I've got someone next to me, even if they're just talking to me, it like takes my mind off the struggle. And so the strongest people usually hang at the back. You know, if they can control the urge not to like shoot off.
Well, some of the best, like we work with a lot of different mountain guides, especially in the UK and in Nepal. And they always tend to manage from the back. Basically, so you can see everything. You know, the good leaders tend to hang at the back because, one, you're measured, you can see what's in front of you. You know, you got a little bit more control of the situation. It's just really interesting. Then you like you said, you get to kind of feel how the group is. Obviously, I know you know most of the group, but it's still interesting. You think you know people, and then you're on a trip, and then it's like when people are suffering, how people delve into it and help. You know, sometimes. People need a pat on the back, you know, say, come on, mate, just keep going, come on. Which again, having worked in team environments, you know, happens a lot, right? And even more so in the mountains because safety is massive. So yeah, just something that definitely happens that out of all of those, I think, you talk about hydration, we talk about speed, then you've got the mindset which controls everything. It's, you know, and I'm sure you'd be going there.
Fingers crossed. But it does help knowing, like, you know, the more information you have, like we talked about earlier, the packing. Like now I understand what I need, and I know what I need to do as well on the altitude front as well. So
peace of mind is key. Like I don't want to think about anything when I'm out there. I just want to wake up in the morning, put my pack on, and then go from A to B. And that should be as complicated as it is.
Gives you confidence then.
100%.
Clarity gives you confidence, and then you can go out and just do what you actually want to do.
Exactly, And you know, if you're worrying about anything or you're second guessing yourself the whole time, you're not going to be on the ball in terms of like managing even the hydration. You'll forget to drink, or you won't be bothered, or there's loads of different ways that the mindset can affect things. But it's mad because it's one of the things we talk about the least. But
it is, isn't it? We try to, like we do talk.
Yeah, we try.
It's only because people don't think it's important.
No.
You know what I mean? Like it's mad because we get 1,000,001 questions about equipment, you know, which is fair because, like we talked about this morning, and you and Dave, you know, there's a lot of questions pops up because you're thinking, oh shit, do I need that? Do I take that? Do I don't take that?
Yeah.
But rarely do you get asked around how do you manage yourself or altitude, like mentally, which is actually what you're probably going to find most challenging out of everything.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Did you do much of that in your career at all? Like, did they ever get people into the team to talk about like how you function and stuff like that?
There were psychologists in the management. And if it was more on a personal, like if you wanted to divulge into that or needed not help, but a lot of boys use it as a performance tool.
Yeah.
Like a lot of visualization, pre-match, helping with kickers used it a lot.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it was like the big thing I found that made me perform the best was that clarity, like doing your homework beforehand. So when you get to the stadium for a game, you knew that you've done everything you can, so you can not go out and enjoy, but you're in the best position possible to do your job as best you can. And for me, that would be like, right, when I try and relate it to the trip, would be like, right, making sure I pack all the right things, the right nutrition every morning, got enough water, so that I'll have this checklist before I start walking.
Yeah.
That'll be like, right, today I can go and enjoy this. Yeah. And everything is taken care of. Yeah. And that then gives me confidence. But you know, boys use psychologists and psychology in so many different ways. I do think it's something that needs to be talked about more, because you know, mood and everything gets affected by it.
Exactly, and it's a powerful tool used in the right way, and I think that's why we always tend to try and talk about, okay, like, you know, if you've got this big goal, let's break it down into chunks. Like you said, you turned up each game not worrying about stuff, which makes you then focus, as you said. If all your focus is what you're doing, you're going to perform better. It's an amazing thing, isn't it? And
I think the physical training is a good thing for that as well. Yeah. It's one of the best ways I've found to get into a good mindset is to make myself physically fit. Yeah. It's not just about having like the confidence to know that I can physically do the challenge, but it's more than that. It's like you've put the work in. Yeah. You know, and when you've put the work in, you feel like you're not winging it. Yeah. You know, you
exactly.
I think it's probably, you can relate, you know, like that's a big thing.
It's like a little bit of suffering is good.
Yeah, yeah.
Because in a sick way or whatever, I think that, like you said, exercising really hard, feeling where you're like, your lungs are about to come out of you, and you know, knowing when you calm down, like, oh, that was good. I've got something in the bank there that I can call on. That mindset, even just from a mental point of view, being able to push yourself. Yeah. I always used to say, like, your mind gives in before your body, and you know, that's something that you train over years. It's like, don't give up in your mind because your body will keep going. Yeah. So hopefully I won't need to go that deep.
yeah.
But,
I know that's it, isn't it?
John's going to be lost in the Himalaya for a month. You know, he's gonna...
Paul's got him now.
Yeah, you won't see me again.
No, you'd be fine. Interesting. Just reading some comments here. We got Dewi Davis, another Davis, mate.
Lots of us.
I arrived. I know Dewi. He's brilliant. Been an Evertrekker for years now, and he arrived almost 15 stone, the heaviest in his group. Thought it could have been a slug, but cracked on. Yeah. Actually, he turned out to be the strongest in the end. And he mentions a positive mindset was everything for him.
And he lost weight on the trip.
Well, Carla, so again, another Evertrekker who we met at the National Outdoor Expo, great guy. And he mentioned how much, and he lost 9 kilos on EBC.
Wow.
I think, to be honest, when we say if you've got it to lose, you'll lose it.
Yeah.
It also depends on the appetite, I think, as well. If you lose your appetite, naturally, you're going to be burning thousands of calories a day and only putting in hundreds.
Yeah.
So you will lose weight. I'll be honest, I lose a few pounds, but normally I finish where I started.
Okay.
Because I'll just be sitting next to him.
I do lose
chips.
It's good diet, exactly, best diet in the world going on a trek. It's like,
Also, it's very easy to put it back on once you get down to Namche, because then you'll be having Everest beers and
chicken.
People break the rules at Namche, like, and they might order like a burger or something like that, you know. But never on the way up mine, because we trekked with a guy, lovely guy. But I remember on day one we said, look, don't go fast.
Is that Barry?
Yeah, don't
Great
drink
guy.
and don't eat meat. And on day one, he went super quick, got there before everyone, and I rocked up, and he had a chicken burger and a can of Everest beer. I was like,
day one.
Do you know what?
I thought
Everyone's
respect.
look. These are not. They're not the police's rules.
Well,
You know, everyone's an adult. They can make their own decisions against the best advice, whatever. Yeah. And then when he got to EBC, man, he was bad. He was really
great,
struggling.
wasn't he?
He got to EBC, but then I think he joined Chopper Club and
we got him a helicopter down.
Got the express chopper back down.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting, like, you know, how much weight like you say, you lose a lot.
Yeah, if I always say, if you're carrying a bit, you know, if you feel like, okay, I've got a bit to lose here, you can definitely lose it, because I do lose my appetite. Yeah. Even like, we're going up to Namche, which is like day 2 of the trip. I'll lose it there, which is about 3,400 meters.
Okay, wow.
You know, but it was just significant. But you know, you're going up to almost 5,500 meters, so obviously over the next several days. But Steve, who's here as well, like when he first got to Namche, that was kind of his wall initially, and was struggling, didn't eat, headaches, just adjusting to the altitude. He did use Diamox at the time, which helped. A lot of people do, but some people it's just you'll get that back in a couple of days. Yeah. Especially the appetite, like mine's like this, it kind of comes and goes. Yeah. And that's where Snickers comes in, Mr. Snickers, and I'm like, okay, or energy gels, or Dave's squash, just to get some hydration down.
It's because I won't drink. I realised on one of the treks we did before that I was not drinking anything like enough.
Yeah,
and and it was one of the guys we were with, Max. I saw him putting some squash in a bottle, and I was like, mate, can you put that in there? And I had a little. I just necked it. Then I was like, oh god, that's so good. But
didn't you were so thirsty once that you actually drank the squash?
That was a different story.
That was Ben Nevis.
That was Ben. I went to Ben Nevis. This is complacency, really, which is why I've made so many mistakes, and I'm honest about them to everyone, because I think I can make myself look like an idiot, and then they can learn without having to do it, because there's been so many errors. But I went to do Ben Nevis, and it was a hot day, and I only packed like I think 2 liters of water. Okay. And we did the CMD route, which is a really tough ridge walk. Yeah. I'd ran out before I got to the summit, and it's such a long walk on the way down that I was getting, I was mad with thirst. It was really all I could think about. And I remembered that I had like this little squash squirty thing in my pack, and I knew it would probably dehydrate me because it was just not concentrated, but just squirting a little bit on the lips was so satisfying. And I thought, my God, like I would die in a desert in like 24 hours. That's not my type of trip. I remember this guy then, we were about half an hour from the bottom, and I noticed he had a litre of water in his rucksack. I said, oh, excuse me, mate. I was like, you wouldn't give me a bit of that water, would you? And he was like, no, I need this. And I was like, wow. I thought about, I could push him off the edge.
Yeah, and hold on to his water.
I was like, that level of thirst where, you know.
You contemplate it.
Yeah, it flashed through my brain. I thought, no.
Never done a trip with him again?
Yeah, no. Well, actually, he was just a stranger.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I didn't even know him. It's a
shame, isn't it? You think the mountains.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
It did annoy me, but then I thought, you know what, I can't blame him for my mistake. Yeah. I should have packed at least 4 litres of water. Yeah. Then I would have probably had just enough. But 2 litres wasn't even close. Like, it was a hot day, so you know, you stop and you're drinking. You think you could get half a litre down you without even thinking about it. But yeah, I suppose that's key.
It doesn't matter how experienced you are. Like, you're always learning. Yeah. You know, for anything in life, especially the outdoors, you don't always get it right. And it's a big lesson, isn't it? Yeah. Like now, you know, on a hot day, you won't do that again.
No. It was stupid though, because I wasn't inexperienced. Yeah. But that is where cockiness kind of came in. And I think it was a bit of ego, because I think I was the most experienced hiker in the group, and everyone was asking me questions about kit, and I was handling it. So this trauma I kept to myself. On the way down, they're like chatting, and in my head I'm like, get the water. But I'm like, no, you okay, mate? Like, and it wasn't until I was on my own that I would really be like, oh God,
just need some water.
I just need anything. I'll drink anything. But yeah, that was bad. But anyway, live and learn.
And going back to food then, because I know big massively important. I know Reese, who went to the altitude centre with you, mentioned as well, when he had the mask on, I think you took him up, he started to feel hungry.
Yeah.
What was that process like for you?
Similar, like I think I finished the screening and I was like, well, I could eat a horse now. Like it was, I just needed food in me, and it was quite strange. But I think when I think back to the time when we did the World Cup prep, like I said, I've never eaten as much food as I did. So I think if you're burning it at such a quick rate, you're gonna need it. And hopefully, my appetite will stay, that I can keep getting the calories in me. But that's probably one of the things I've been thinking about the most, is like what snacks I'm going to take. Like a mixture of chocolate bars, energy gels. Do I take some beef jerky? It's making sure that I got the right sort of thing, really.
I like the energy gels.
You're big on those.
I save them.
Beef jerky as well?
Yeah, beef jerky, yeah. I pack beef jerky and some energy gels. I tend to save the energy gels for the last 3 days on the way back.
Okay.
Because what you do in sort of 8 days, you do in 3 on the way down.
Yeah.
So I actually find those days are the most physically depleting.
Yeah.
On the way up, you can have really tough days, but the distances are not that far.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, you might do like 4.5 miles one day. You know, it's a lot of up and down, but it's, physically it's easy. On the way back, when you're doing like 8, 9, 10 miles and you're covering a lot of up and down, the gels really help. But actually, a little food hack is, if you really have got an appetite, order the dalbat. It's like the national meal
lentils.
of Nepal.
Okay, yeah.
It's really nice.
It's like, these like big blob of rice, curried lentils, and
cabbage. It's really good.
It's really good, but that's all they eat out there, right? Is the porters, and they call it Dalbat Power 24-hour. It's delicious.
No sleep, no shower.
You have a completely different type. That's what, in my mind, it's like Mountain Dalbat and Kathmandu Dalbat. Kathmandu Dalbat is posh. It's like a big thali served on a tray.
Yeah.
When you're in the mountain, it's just raw fuel.
Just guessing.
Yeah, but when you'll finish it, and then they'll come round and be like, more rice, more lentils, and then that can happen 3-4 times.
Oh wow.
You know, but John, a guy we trekked with one time, he said he was going to have breakfast, and then for lunch and dinner he's going to have dalbat. And I was like, that's a lot. That's 11 days. That's 22 dalbats.
That's a lot.
I was like, you're going to do it? And I think he tapped out at around 13 dalbats.
Oh, wow.
Do you remember though? That was the best one we had.
Yeah.
That was on the way back. Yeah. And we stopped in this beautiful place, Amada Blam, which is one of these beautiful mountains, and Everest in the distance. And you've got kind of this like veranda. It's amazing views. Your sun's out, and as they're cooking, they went out to the garden. They picked the spinach.
Yeah, it's delicious.
From their garden,
homemade
they cooked
chutney.
it, and I was like, John, and he chose something else. I was like,
spaghetti.
Yeah.
But it was
tin spaghetti. And spaghetti sauce.
Did John lose weight or put on weight after?
John is actually renowned for gaining weight on trips.
Okay.
Like he went to Kili and gained about half a stone.
He did. Didn't
Yeah,
he?
no, yeah. John is. I mean, if you see him eat a Nando's,
He's a grubber, is he?
Yeah. Like he really gets involved.
Yeah.
Like when you see him eating like chicken Nando's, it's carnage. Yeah. It's a bloodbath.
Andrew Scott, he's put some Dalbat Power 23 hour, 1 hour for shower and shit. That's true. That's very true, Andrew. Andrew's been out to Nepal a bunch of times. Diane's on the live as well. Diane, good to see you. She's done like several trips with us, Diane. Yeah. Probably will do the next several hundred, Diane. We were talking about food then as well. I think just something I do, especially with protein, is a thing. You want to, because you might lose some muscle mass.
Yeah.
Doing some research before the first time I went, and I was big into the training, and I wanted to try and keep the shape really.
Yeah.
And it was obviously you could have protein shakes or powder or stuff, but actually I used to just nail the eggs when I was out there, because you don't want to eat the meat, so you kind of want to stay off that because you don't want to get a dodgy belly.
Yeah.
That makes the challenge even worse. But I would, every morning I'd have 2 or 3 eggs and some potatoes, like a Swiss rosti.
Yeah.
And that was it then. And even if I lost my appetite, I know I could eat that.
Yeah.
I could manage it. Or chips.
Yeah.
I know it's not the healthiest, but it's carbs.
Yeah.
It was just really basic. Instead of ordering, because you can order like pizzas and pasta and stuff, but I either had dalbat or something super simple.
Fried rice.
Yeah, fried
They
rice.
do a lot of fried rice and eggs and fried. A lot of that. Chip butty's my go-to.
Yeah.
So when I go there, I'll just
takes you back to a child or fish
exactly.
and chips and a chip butty.
That's exactly what it's like.
Mindset though, see, it keeps you happy, doesn't it?
So when I can't eat, I usually just say, "Can I just have fries and some bread?" And then I'll just make my own little chip butty, and then anyone can eat a chip butty.
Yeah. They'll look at you strange and go, sure, Mr. Dave.
Yeah, but I'll be like, watch this magic happen when you bring it out, mate.
Watch a smile on my face.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to believe what I'm going to do with this stuff.
Yeah.
But the ketchup is always spicy, isn't it? You know?
They do have. Yeah, they do. Yeah, watch for the ketchup.
Okay.
I'm
not a ketchup guy.
Sneak you.
Okay, yeah, because it's really spicy.
Okay, I don't mind spicy though, but the ketchup will be a no-go.
Yeah, fair.
I just think anything to minimise the risk of getting a dodgy belly, because obviously altitude's a challenge as it is, but when the stomach goes, like you talk about Barry, the trip when we went up to, and he had the chicken. Geez, he just didn't eat for like several days. Can you imagine? You're burning all those calories. Yeah. I mean, he looked great at the end when he got back to Kathmandu and had a beer and has come to. I was like a different man.
Yeah, well, to be fair, he was really, really sick.
Yeah.
But being the lad he is, I think he was in the hospital for a night, and then he was on Kathmandu for a night. Wow. So I think he was out hitting it pretty hard. And
I'm guessing on the trail as well, if you've got a dodgy belly, the toilet facilities are...
Yeah, you just got to find nature's toilet.
Yeah.
What word of advice is, if you see a rock and you think that's a great place to go,
it's already been.
It's about 20 people that day have already. So look for the place that.
No stone is unturned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've had some nightmares, but
I always hear him because Dave is a classic. You can hear him when he's almost ill.
Yeah.
So I can hear you retching, and I'm like, ooh, that sounds
well,
like
I'm obsessive about not getting sick and like trying to stay as clean as possible. So when I go into these toilets, these ones, it was Toopkal was the worst. We found a toilet on the trail. I said I got to go in, and I walked in, and I was like, this is I'm gonna die unless I get out of here.
And we're dying outside because I can hear him retching, and I just whenever he's like that, I gotta laugh.
So there's something along the lines of the toilets you'll see in Glastonbury.
Very similar, actually. Yeah,
right, I'm ready for that. Then.
Better. Better. To be fair, the first few days when you start, you'll have sit-down toilets.
Yeah.
You know, most places. Where you're staying. Obviously, en route, you're not, unless you're in a village where you can use some of the local toilets.
Yeah.
You're kind of in the middle of nowhere, so you've got to find a space. But as you get higher then, it does get more basic because of where you are. It gets more remote.
And there's fewer of them.
Yeah,
exactly. There's fewer and fewer villages, fewer toilets. To be honest, it's actually okay other than Gorakshep, which is the last place you're going to stay before base camp.
Okay.
Actually, Lobouché you'll stay, but you stop at Gorakshep and then go. That's the place where, like, unless I need to sit down, I'll go outside, get some fresh air, and find a spot. You know.
Yeah, exactly. But it is, and the toilet question comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Like, how do I keep clean?
Yeah.
Which I know we talked about earlier, and how do I go to a toilet? Which is mad, isn't it? To think we take it for granted.
Yeah, but then if you got in your head beforehand, you're dealing with it before, because otherwise it might stress you out. Like, I can't do this, and then you're causing problems all around then.
Yeah.
Exactly. We've got some more Evertrekkers. We've got Bry. Bry is been to Everest Base Camp. He actually got stuck in Nepal. You know, when we had lockdown in COVID? Bry, which he didn't mind, got stuck in Kathmandu for 10 days at this 5-star hotel. So the bar was dry by the end. Do you remember that?
I think he's just ran the London Marathon.
He has,
yeah.
Congrats. That's why.
Done.
He's a legend, Bry. He's I think he's nearly 70 now, and is he?
He's a little. He's going to kill you for that.
Yeah. I think we'll find out now.
Large capitalised swear words. But no, Bry, good to have you on. And Spud as well, one of our good friends, Spud, who we climb Kili with. He's coming with us we're doing Machu Picchu in September.
Nice.
So yeah, really looking forward to getting out there. Dewi's back, the Davis. JD, top tip from one Davis to another: Skittles, mini eggs, and chewing gum.
Mini eggs are a good one if you like chocolate.
That's a good shout, actually. Mini eggs.
You struggle now though. Easter's done to get them.
Valid point. That's going to be an Amazon purchase, that isn't it, from a warehouse?
I have to pay like £10 a bag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't worry, I know a guy.
Okay.
Brilliant. Going back to, I know we've talked about food a lot, and touching on equipment, which I know you guys talked about in depth. Just to kind of swing back to equipment then. What's been any big challenges for you with the equipment that you had? Like, was there anything that you were stumped on, or?
I just think maybe like we talked about earlier, like my hands, being really cold and struggling to find a pulse. Just making sure I've got like adequate warmth. Because, like you're saying, if something is annoying you or just like giving you pain, you're not going to enjoy that experience. So I want to make sure I'm prepared and like having the right amount of layers. Like I used to hike in trail running trainers, so going to a boot, getting used to them has probably not been my biggest challenge, but one where I've consciously thought, right, I can't do it in hiking trail trainers. So gone with the North Face head jogs. I know you boys have both
used them,
so I thought I'd follow the trend.
Good man.
So yeah, no, they feel good, and you know, just making sure that I don't want to take too much, but I don't want to feel I've forgotten anything. So, you know, what we did earlier was amazing because it was just like gives me clarity now, and I can go away and just make sure everything's sorted.
Yeah, the thing is with the hands is it's I usually find, because we've had quite a few people have like Reynards and stuff like that, and it's about not letting it get to the point.
Exactly.
So the liner gloves are brilliant. So just have them on pretty much all the time, and then I would get mitts then. If you because if you get to base camp, the weather's unpredictable. You expect it to be mild, but you never know with the Himalaya. It can be wild. So if it is really cold, those mitts you put on, they're brilliant. Like you can't get better for keeping your hands warm.
Good to know.
They're really, really good.
And it's managing those conditions as well, like you said, and you mentioned clarity a few times. When you've got clarity, you can focus on stuff. So once you take those elements out, your hands, you know you've got to look after them. Your feet, you know you've got to look after those as well. Just focus on enjoying it. You know what I mean? Because all this stuff, and you know, we chat to Evertrekkers all the time, and there's all this stuff you've got to think about. Essentially, all you got to do is get out there, go and enjoy it. You know, enjoy the walk, enjoy the journey, and everything else will fall into place.
Have you ever struggled with like feeling stiff, like your body, like in the morning? Just thinking, right, how am I going to get going again today again now?
Start-up stiffness, I get it a lot with the lead. But to be honest, I can get it. I usually think I just get up a bit earlier and just start moving enough
Stretches.
before the trek. I've had it before if I'm feeling lazy and there's not that much time before getting up and starting the trek, that usually in my lower back carrying a rucksack, so I usually get up early enough that you can kind of get everything ready, go downstairs, have a cup of coffee, go outside, get some fresh air and start moving a little bit. But other than that, it's usually most people do deteriorate in the Himalaya. Not terribly so, but you'll notice that, you know, no one really recovers like they do at sea level.
Like,
exactly, and it's 11 days hiking. But I usually think it comes around. Like by the end of the trek, a lot of the time I actually feel quite good.
You're numb.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's because the motivation changes, because once you do Everest Base Camp, then you're like, Irish bar. All right, it's 2 days away. But okay, that's a new motivation, and you've done it. You've succeeded. When you're going down, obviously you've got more oxygen, so you start to feel like $1 million, and you're like, oh my God, this is where I've been. It's like, it's amazing. I actually quite like the journey back, although it's a long way.
And you're covering more distance in your days.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not sure what the distance is, but it's approximately 50 mile in 3 days, something like that.
Wow. It's quite a lot, and it's like that. It's mad. You still do a lot of up on the way down, because you walk down to the river, and then you've got 400 meters the other side, and then you walk down to the river, and then back. So Nepalese flat, we call it. It's mad that you've got all that. Like if you use like a Garmin or something, and you'll be like, Jesus, that went down 1,000 meters, but you also went up a bunch of meters as well, which is really mad.
Boils my brain.
It's crazy.
Some days when you're on your way down and you know you've got an hour-long climb, you can't fathom it.
That's one thing I'm thinking about again, is something to track, just to see the activity,
it's cool, isn't it?
Like something to look back on, kill a bit of time afterwards, just to see how.
You just get a Garmin or a Fitbit or something like that. Apple Watch does it, but you have to charge them every day, so I reckon the Garmin's better.
Well, we got the Fenix. What have I got? Fenix Pro 7. You've got the 8.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Epics.
You've got the new one, haven't you?
Epics, I've got.
No, he's got a flashy one.
Actually, no. I wanted the Fenix, but I wanted the bright screen. So I bought this one, and then a week later they brought out the Phoenix, and I wanted with the bright screen. Anyway, mugged off. But I love the data. I don't know why. It just fascinates me to see what you've done. How many calories did I burn? How many steps did I do? How much climbing and descent did I do?
Talking about clarity, got clarity on Bry's age.
What did he say?
He's definitely not 70.
Yeah, he's got changed.
He said he's still
60.
got changed out of 60s. But he's cool. You mentioned as well about the stiffness and stuff. One thing that was on my mind is that it's very rare before you go to do multi-day treks.
Yeah.
You know, like you can go for a weekend or something and you'll do one day, but doing back-to-backs is quite hard if you're not used to it. I know you did Cadder and you did some of the others back-to-backs. Doing more of that helps.
Yeah.
I think because your body's used to walking whilst aching.
Yeah.
And naturally then your body will recover.
Yeah.
Even though your watch might tell you, okay, you need a rest day. You don't want to listen to that. That's conservative.
Yeah.
But yeah, for anyone that is doing training for, EBC or any trip, it's about, if you go into like Everest Base Camp or Killy, try and do some multi-day trips.
Yeah.
So you're aching when you hike.
Well, as a group that are going, we've got a hike on Friday.
Nice.
So me and the family going down to Cornwall for a couple of days, so I can get a couple of days with them. Tough day on Friday as well, just so in prep for the trip.
Yeah.
One other question I want to ask as well.
Yeah.
At the tea houses in the evening, best way to keep yourself entertained? What? Bar drinking, obviously. What is it?
Karaoke? No.
Karaoke.
Uno? No, I'm joking.
Yeah. Have you played Monopoly Deal?
Jen's got those.
Yeah.
I've not played it. She played it with Els.
I'm thinking about taking that.
Take it, yeah. Some of the guys on the ski trip play that.
Yeah, it's really good. They love it. What we do is like just everyone bring a game, like a card game. I like Uno.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of them ones everyone gets involved in. But
they also some of the guides will play
Dumble. Dumble is I've forgotten the rules now, but it's a local game.
Is it where you lose a lot of money? Is it?
Actually, I think you would do, but luckily you don't have to play for money.
Maybe they put a 2 down. You got to give me 200.
Yeah. But most of the time, it's card games. Sitting there just chatting.
Yeah.
Swapping war stories.
Focusing on sleep as well, trying to get as much sleep.
Yeah. I get an early night.
I tend to. Sometimes I go for a walk. That seems mad, but just stretch the legs in the evenings, especially in like Namche. There'll be Dingboche. There'll be places like cafes where you can have cakes and stuff. But they might put like the Everest movie on or something like that.
Yeah.
There's one called Liquid Bar, I think, in Namche that always shows the Everest movie. It's quite cool when you're there going to Everest. Something like that. So just stretch your legs, go and grab a coffee. There are some places just super basic, and you'll just be in the tea houses, around the kind of the stove. And it's just chatting and that camaraderie, really, having a laugh, bit of banter.
We go out most evenings, don't we? Because most of the time, unless some people, if they're super slow, which isn't a problem, but they might have less time.
Yeah.
But most of the time, you're back sort of mid to late afternoon.
Yeah.
So usually I go to the room, pack everything down, have a wash, put some comfy on, put my Crocs on, meet everyone there, and it's like to have a wander. And almost in every village, there's these German bakeries.
Yeah.
So we're not slumming it, mate. And you can go and get like coffee, hot chocolate, bit of cake, something like that. It all sounds very luxurious. When you're there, you'll understand it's a rare treat.
Yeah.
But
you enjoy it so much more, because
you've
it's
earned it as well.
Yeah. But it's great having a wander around because you just meet people, and it is great because you'll be starting not just with your group, but there's everyone who starts on that day with you, all the other nationalities, groups, they're all going to the same place at the same time. So you kind of get this little bubble of people that you start to know.
It's quite cool, yeah.
And it's really cool then because you'll see someone that you met in Tengboche and then you'll meet them on Dingboche and then you'll be like, oh, how's it going, mate? And stuff like that.
But everyone goes off on different routes, do they? Or they try to stay?
Some do, it depends. Because on the way to Everest Base Camp, there's kind of 3 main routes that you can get there. Obviously, we're going on the classic historic one. But there's one via Gokyo Valley, which is like lakes, and you go over this high pass, Chola Pass, where you drop down into Everest Base Camp, and then there's another one where you can do 3. Yeah. But most people, like 95% of people will be doing the main one. Yeah. But it's not like the M4. It's even though it's busy especially because you're going in summit season. Yeah. And you're going to reach Everest Base Camp hopefully on Everest Day, which is pretty special. 29th of May. There will be as well the Everest Marathon, so people will be running back. Because what is it? Is it to Namche or to Lukla?
Base Camp to Namche.
Base Camp to Namche, yeah.
Base Camp
people
to Namche.
running back.
That's the next one for you, John.
Yeah.
I know Bry really wants to do it.
2045.
I always say that's the one, like, if you want to go to the Himalaya and push yourself, and that's the event to do. You hike up to base camp, and then you get there, you spend the night, and then you wake up the next day and you set off, and then you run back to Namche.
And you climb a huge amount still. It's not like
it's massive.
Go back to what you said.
It's huge.
It's tough. It's a toughie.
There's a great documentary about this young Nepalese woman who I think won. And I think the first time I think she's sponsored by North Face now, but the first time she did it, I think she had odd trainers on. But
right.
because they're used...
She's a climber, isn't she?
I'm not sure if she's a climber, but she's definitely an ultra runner. Young Nepalese woman. She might even be a Sherpa, I'm not sure. And she just absolutely obliterated everyone, because for her, that's just like their life is quite hard.
They exist to that.
And they're used to carrying things up and down, up and down. It was funny one time. I remember I was with John. I think you weren't on that trip, and we were going up to Dingboche, and John was like led there, like flat on his back at the top of this hill, his belly out, and this Sherpa woman, young girl, was walking up carrying a load of stuff, and I went, nah, and she looked at me and I jabbed him in the stomach with my pole, and he's like, oh, like that. She laughed so much she nearly like dropped her stuff.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. That's why you got the poles. Then.
That's why I got the poles. I did turn it around and I didn't jab him with the sharp end.
I was going to say, with the metal bit, you probably pop.
But yeah, it was funny. I just hit him with it. He's like, oh, like that. And then she was cracking up. We could hear her laughing then down the hill. Like.
It was worth it. John took one for the team there, didn't he? Just to have a laugh.
I've tortured John a lot. He's the one I told you about where every time we stopped, I'd get a stone and just put it in the bottom of his rucksack.
That's cruel, that is. I remember that being on, was it 2017, one of our first trips? Well, our first trip together.
Yeah.
With John. And I remember he was like, because at that time, you used to have to buy plastic bottled water.
Yeah.
And it got more expensive as it went up.
So
we loaded up.
Hoarding it.
He had and each one of these is a kilo, right?
Yeah.
And he had like 10 in there, plus his normal stuff. So it was really heavy. He carried it all the way up.
But it'd be annoying though, because you'd stop, you'd like, John, chucks of water. He's like, no, I've carried it. This is mine, I've carried it.
But we filter the water now, so you don't need to buy bottled water. With the exception of when you're like Gorekshep, sometimes Lobuche, there has to be flowing water.
Yeah.
Otherwise you can't filter it. So unfortunately, those you've got to buy some water there.
Yeah.
But yeah, hope we've minimised it as best we can. But I just remember John, absolute mental. He only saved a couple of quid.
No, I know, but he was obsessed.
I mean, it goes a long way, obviously.
But no, he's burned probably twice as much energy carrying all that extra weight.
Yeah.
He nearly broke the strap on his rucksack, I remember. It was starting to fray, and I was like...
Well, because of the rocks or the water now?
Well, a little from column A, a little from column B.
Well, look, we got another, probably just under 10 minutes, so I got a few fun questions.
Okay.
I'll bring in. I'm trying to link rugby and Everest.
Okay.
So, first one. If you had one of your teammates to carry your pack, who would you get to carry your pack for you? Who would be your Sherpa?
Someone with a good engine, who always...
You don't like very much.
Oh no! I would have Ken Owens.
Really?
Yeah, hooker, big guy, but like big back on him to carry it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I reckon he'd carry it until he'd pass out. So he wouldn't complain.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want it back because we'd complain about everything. Yeah. It'd be too much. It's not the dog. The forwards do the donkey, as they say.
Poor Ken.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And I was thinking about, it doesn't have to be equipment, but things. It could be items, whatever. But 3 things that you could take from your rugby career on Everest Base Camp. What would you take with you?
3 things. I don't know. I think I take my the supplements team who used to supply us with electrolytes.
Oh really?
Yeah. I'm going to need them.
Oh, bloody hell, let's get loads of them.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with John and I'll get them. Obviously, we talked about the resilience. I think that's going to be a huge help.
It's a big one.
But I think as well as just one thing I've learned from rugby is, and I love being part of a team.
Yeah. And
that's probably how I'll look at the trip and us as a group, is that we're a team and we're all going to get up there together. And I think that's, hopefully that'll be in a positive manner that it helps the team. So, that's something that, there's a good group of us go in and enjoy that experience in the tea houses, Uno, Monopoly deal, the game that we're going to lose a lot of money on. Just enjoy that, and because team sport's great, but then doing something like this as a group will be amazing as well.
Yeah, awesome, mate, awesome. And last one, if you had to do karaoke, what would you sing?
So, whenever you had a first cap for Wales, you used to have to sing a song.
Okay. For
your first cap, your first 50th, 100th, and 150th cap.
Bloody hell.
And it's more nerve-wracking than the actual game. Because the rugby part's easy. Singing in front of a crowd would be really scary. So I took the theory of, I need a song that's like gets interaction.
Right, I see.
So do a ditty.
Do a ditty.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it was like I said a line, then the crowd had to sing.
Smart.
So I only sang half the song technically.
That's smart.
So,
smart.
But so there's been some great ones over the years. Some first songs, like some of the boys, really good singers. But I'd murder a song.
Amazing. Sorry, I had to get those in. I wrote them down. I was like, I'll try and bring a little bit of.
Yeah, no, it was a good question.
Awesome. Any more from you, Dave?
No, I was wondering what you were looking forward to the most about the trip.
Yeah.
I think the scenery. Like just being out there, away from everything else. Like I know there's, Wi-Fi and whatnot, little bits of it. But for me, it's that appreciating what's out there, the natural beauty of everything. I love being outdoors. I love experiencing that. And, taking myself away from day to day. I'm looking forward to that experience.
Oh, you'll love it. There's nothing quite like it's a strange feeling when you first see Everest.
Yeah.
And just the knowledge that you're looking at the highest point on Earth. Like at that point I'm looking at, there's nothing but space.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
And then I remember the first time it ever hit me, I was walking along and I thought, I'm higher than I would skydive in the UK right now.
Wow.
It is
with
mental.
my feet on. I don't know why the thought just popped into my head. My feet are on the ground, hiking in the hills, and I'm higher than when I would skydive in the UK.
It's when you're flying as well, when you realise, and your altimeter, and this is like 5,500 meters, and you think, bloody hell, it's a long way down.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's different when you're up there.
You'll be standing,
Honestly,
it is mental.
It's the one thing that once you've done it, it's little moments. Like I'll be walking on the beach with like the dog, and it'll occur to me, sea level. So 5.5 kilometers vertical, I've walked.
It is crazy.
And you think little strange facts like that, like stay with you.
And I think that's it. It'll always be almost like imprinted on you, the fact that you've done it, and like over time, little reminders of the achievement would be in different ways. Like you said, standing on the beach, sea level, and then realizing how far up you were, and at you're a certain height.
Yeah.
But that's what that one of skydive is brilliant.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Right?
You're safer on the ground than skydiving.
It's mad. It's like there's loads of little things like that. Other times, you might come home, right? TV, that's gone.
Yeah.
PlayStation out the window. Don't need any of that.
We're going to move to the mountains.
Yeah, exactly.
Bloody hell! It's surprising. A lot of people, and everyone takes something different from trips. We hear some people, and they come back and they're like, oh my god, I just want to go and do other things. My last question really before we tie up, I know we've got a few more minutes, and again, a bit of a deep one, but obviously, taking on the challenge, reach at Everest Base Camp, it's going to be a powerful moment. But just with Evertrekkers who are watching today, what kind of message would you kind of give to them for this kind of challenge? Get into that kind of place.
I think, what you said earlier is when I played professional sport, I had a why. Like why I did it. And, it was to be as successful as I can be, make my family proud, and test myself at the highest level. And what you mentioned earlier is like why I'm doing this is to want to test myself, to experience something that I've never have done or anything like this before, and I want to appreciate the opportunity that's been given to me to really enjoy it. So this has been a fantastic opportunity to me. I can't wait to get up there, and I honestly don't know what I'm going to feel like. It hits everyone differently, you say, and that is going to be learning, and hopefully that'll help me, grow as a person as well.
Yeah, awesome, John. Well, look, mate, really appreciate you coming on, and
no, thanks for having me.
Just chatting about obviously the journey and the next kind of journey for you, after retiring and stuff, which is awesome. I look forward to seeing the journey as well. I know, because obviously I'm coming out there, and we'll definitely afterwards we'll do some more, do some more of this.
Definitely.
We'll have to get you back on once you've done it.
Yeah, to
that'd be great.
Say what my experiences were.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to borrow your GoPro, try and document as best I
Yeah,
can.
100%. Yeah.
But no, I'm excited to see what comes of it.
Awesome.
Well, look, hopefully it's been awesome today. We've loved it. I said we'll be back next week, another Tuesday tune in. But yeah, thanks a lot, Jon. Been amazing, and good luck for the trip.
Thank you very much.
Nice one.
Cheers.
See you guys. Bye.